Dabra lev Yerushalem, ve'kiru eleha, ki malach tzeva'a, ki nitzavoda, ki lacha miyad Hashem, kiflaim bechol hatoteha. Dum dum dum, nachamu nachamu. Yerushalem, ve'kiru eleha, ki malach tzeva'a, ki nitzavoda, ki lacha miyad Hashem, kiflaim bechol hatoteha. Dum dum dum, nachamu nachamu, amin, nachamu nachamu, yomar Elokechem, nachamu nachamu, amin, nachamu nachamu, yomar Elokechem. Kol koreh bamidbar, panu derech Lashem, yashru barava, Mesila Eloheinu, Nachamu, Nachamu, Ami, Nachamu, Nachamu, Ami, Nachamu, Yomar Elokechem, Nachamu, Nachamu, Ami, Nachamu, Nachamu, Yomar Elokechem, Nachamu, Nachamu, Ami, Nachamu, Nachamu, Yomar Elokechem, Nachamu, Nachamu, Ami, Nachamu, Nachamu, Yomar Elokechem.
Shabbat Shalom, everybody. It is good to see you all again. I hope that you had a good week, that you found some coolness in the midst of our summer heat. If you are joining us here on Zoom, as always, we invite you to go to the chat to find the link for our Siddur, our prayer book. If you're on Facebook Live with us, either on our Temple page or on my watch party or Kendra Berlin's watch party, feel free to go to the chat and the comments and find the link there. Or if you're watching on a big screen or a little screen off of our live stream on our Temple website, the link for the prayer book is right there below. And we are so glad that you're here with us to celebrate Shabbat and to say goodbye to the week that has been and give ourselves some space to prepare for the week that is going to come. So join us tonight in song and spirit. We're going to begin with our Nigun, a song without words, to welcome Shabbat with song. First, Cantor is going to unmute her. Cantor's going to unmute her fancy microphone so that we can hear her beautifully. We're going to put up our PDF of our candle blessings, and as I light candles, Cantor Berlin will lead us in the blessing.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu lehadlik ner shel Shabbat. And please join me in Kiddush. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam borei peri hagafen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav v'ratzavanu v'shabbat kodsho b'ahava u'v'ratzon hinchilanu zikaron le'masei v'reshit ki hu yom techila l'mikra'ei kodesh zecher l'tziat Mitzrayim ki vaynu v'acharta v'otanu kirashta mikol ha'amim v'shabbat kodshecha be'ahava u'v'ratzon hinchaltanu Baruch atah Adonai mekadesh HaShabbat. L'chaim.
We continue with Lachun Aranana.
Let us sing unto God a new song. Let us sing unto God a new song. Ya la 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 la, ya la 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 la, ya la 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 la, ya la 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 la, ya la 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 la, ya la 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 la, ya la 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 la. And please join us in singing Mizmor Shir. Ya Mizmor מושי ליום השבת, טוב להודות לאדוני, טוב להודות לאדוני, ולזמר לשמך עליון, ולזמר לשמך עליון. נגיד בבוקר, בבוקר חסדך, אמונתך, הללויה. נגיד בבוקר, בבוקר חסדך, אמונתך, הללויה. מזמור שיר ליום השבת, טוב להודות לאדוני, טוב להודות לאדוני, ולזמר לשמך עליון, ולזמר לשמך עליון. נגיד בבוקר, בבוקר חסדך, אמונתך, הללויה. נגיד בבוקר, בבוקר חסדך, אמונתך, הללויה. מזמור שיר ליום השבת, טוב להודות לאדוני, טוב להודות לאדוני, ולזמר לשמך עליון, ולזמר לשמך עליון.
Join us now as we sing Lecha Dodi. When we reach our last verse, Bo'ei V'Shalom, if you're able, you may rise for Bo'ei V'Shalom, or you can move your heart, close your eyes if you wish, and turn your heart, your mind to the Wolf Sanctuary here with me, all by myself, but feeling connected to all of you, wishing I know that you are here with me as I know you do too, but you are here with me. And I hope that you will sing with all your hearts and all your souls, as Rabbi Jurgen likes to say, so that, by the way, your muted indication shows up on your screen. That way you know you are singing with full energy and spirit. So sing with us as we welcome that Sabbath bride, singing Lecha Dodi.
Lecha dodi likrat kala, yalalai, 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 לשבת נקבלה. Lecha dodi likrat kala, yalalai, 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 לשבת נקבלה. שמור וזכור בדיבור אחד, השמיענו אל המיוחד. אדוני אחד ושמו אחד, לשם ולתפארת ולתהילה. Lecha dodi likrat kala, yalalai, 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 לשבת נקבלה. Lecha dodi likrat kala, yalalai, 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 לשבת נקבלה. לקראת שבת לכו ונלכה, היא מקור הברכה. מראש מקדם נסוכה, סוף מעשה ומחשבה תחילה. Lecha dodi likrat kala, yalalai, 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 לשבת נקבלה. Lecha dodi likrat kala, yalalai, 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 לשבת נקבלה. התעוררי, התעוררי, כי בעורף קומי אורי. אורי, אורי, שתדברי, כבוד אדוני עלייך נגלה. Lecha dodi likrat kala, yalalai, 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 לשבת נקבלה. Lecha
invite you to turn on your camera so we can see those of you at least who are with us on Zoom, so that we can wish each of you and you can wish each other a Shabbat Shalom at the beginning of our service together.
There we go. Shabbat
Shabbat
shalom.
shalom.
Shabbat shalom. Shabbat shalom.
Seeing everybody.
Shabbat shalom.
Shabbat shalom.
Shabbat shalom.
We continue our service now on page 26 in our Sidurim with the Chatzi Kadesh. We invite you to rise if you are not already standing, and stay standing through the Shema.
יתגדל ויתקדש שמי רב אמן. בעמד יברח חירותי וימליך מלכותי. בחייכון וביומכון ובחיי כל בית ישראל. בגלה בגלה ובזמן קריב וימרו אמן. יהי שמי רבה מבורך לעולם ולעולמי עלמיה. יתברך יתברך וישתבח ויתפאר ויתג'למן ויתנשא ויתהדר ויתעלה ויתעלה שמי קודשה בריחו לילה מן כל ברכתה ושירתה תושבחתה ונחמתה תמירון בעלמא ויאמרו אמן.
On page 30, we continue with Ma'ariv Aravim, praising God for the gift of creation. Baruch Ata Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher bidvaro Ma'ariv Aravim, b'chochma poteach she'arim, uvit vuna mishane itim, umachalif et hazmanim, umisader et hakochavim b'mishmerotehem barakia kirtsono, borei yom v'layla, golel or mipnei choshech v'choshech mipnei or, uma'avir yom umevi layla, umavdil ben yom uvein layla, Adonai tzavaot shemo, el chai v'kayam, tamid yimloch aleinu leolam va'ed, baruch ata Adonai, hama'ariv aravim. I'm pretty sure I gave you the wrong page number there. I was in service 1, but we are in service 2. So now we are going to type in page 148, and we're going to read that page together. Response. In each age, we receive and transmit Torah. At each moment, we are addressed by the world.
In each age, we are challenged by our ancient teaching. At each moment, we stand face to face with truth.
In each age, we add our wisdom to that which has gone before. At each moment, the knowing heart is filled with wonder.
In each age, the children of Torah become its builders and seek to set the world firm on a foundation of truth.
Baruch ata Adonai ohev amo Yisrael.
Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai echad, Baruch Shem kevod malchuto leolam. You may be seated. Please join me on page 150 with V'ahavta. V'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha b'chol levavcha v'chol nafshecha u'b'chol me'adecha v'hayu advarim ha'ele asher anochi mitzavecha hayom al levavecha v'shinantam levanecha v'divarta bam v'shivtecha b'veitecha v'lechtecha v'derech uv'shochbecha uv'kumecha וקשרתם לאות על ידיך והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותיי והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם אני אדוני אלוהיכם אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים להיות לכם לאלוהים אני אדוני אלוהיכם אמת.
Emet. On page 151, we continue. We worship the power that unites the universe, a promise of harmony for all.
Yet that oneness eludes our grasp as imperfection and evil abound.
Before our eyes, there is a vision of perfection, order, and goodness.
There is evil enough to break the heart, and there is good enough to exalt the soul.
When will redemption come?
When we grant everyone what we claim for ourselves.
Long ago, we escaped the tyranny of Egypt. Our people saw the power of the Most High.
We learned God's presence redeems time and event, so we celebrate this power that makes for freedom. ונאמר כפר אדוני את יעקב וגאולו מיד חזק ממנו ברוך אתה אדוני גאל ישראל.
On page 153. Give us a place to rest, O God. Shelter us in the long, soft evening shadows of your truth. You are true protection and safety. In your presence, we find love and acceptance. Watch over us as we go forth. Prepare for us as we return. Spread over us a shelter of your peace, over all we love, over our Jerusalem and yours. Baruch atah Adonai hapurei sukat shalom aleinu ve'al kol amo Yisrael ve'al Yerushalayim.
תבוא וקידשת שבת, חמות ימים, אתה קראת שבת, ישמחו במלכותך, שומרי 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 שבת, אורי עונג שבת, ישמחו במלכותך, שומרי 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 שבת, אורי עונג שבת. למעשה בראשית שבת, למעשה בראשית שבת, ישמחו במלכותך, שומרי 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 שבת, אורי עונג שבת, ישמחו במלכותך, שומרי 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 שבת, בקוראי עונג שבת.
We rise for the tefillah on page 155.
Ya la 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 la, 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 ya la 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 la. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu v'Elokei Avotenu v'Imotenu, Elokei Avraham, Elokei Yitzchak, Elokei Yaakov, Elokei Sarah, Elokei Rivka, Elokei Rachel, Elokei Leah, Ha'el HaGadol, HaGibor v'Hanora, Elyon, Komel Chasadim Tovim, וקונה הכל, וזוכר חסדי אבות ואמהות, ומביא גאולה לבני בניהם, למען שמו באהבה, מלך עוזר ומושיע ומגן, ברוך אתה אדוני, מגן אברהם בעזרת שרה. אתה גיבור לעולם אדוני, מחיה כל אתה רב להושיע, מוריד אתה, מחכה חיים בחסד, מחיה הכל ברחמים רבים, סומך נופלים ורופא חולים, ומתיר אסורים, ומקיים אמונתו לשני עפר, מחמוך בעל גבורות, ומדור מלך, מלך ממית ומחיה, ומצמיח ישוע, ונאמן אתה להחיות הכל. ברוך אתה אדוני, מחיה הכל. אתה קדוש ושמך קדוש, וקדושים בכל יום יהללוך סלה. ברוך אתה אדוני, האל הקדוש.
You may be seated, and we continue reading on page 160. May these hours of rest and renewal open our hearts to joy and our minds to truth. May all who struggle find rest on this day. May all who suffer find solace. May all who hurt find healing on this day. May all who despair find purpose. May all who hunger find fulfillment on this day. And may we all live in such a way that this day fulfills its promise. Baruch atah Adonai Mekadesh HaShabbat. On page 163, we continue with Hoda'ah, our prayer for Thanksgiving. For the good in us, which calls us to a better life, we give thanks. For the strength to improve the world with our hearts and our hands, we offer praise. For the desire in us which leads us to work for peace, we are grateful. For life and nature, harmony and beauty, for the hope of tomorrow, all praise to the source of being. For all these things, O sovereign, let your name be forever praised and blessed. O God, our Redeemer and Helper, let all who live affirm you and praise your name in truth. Blessed are you, Adonai, your name is goodness, and you are worthy of thanksgiving. Baruch atah Adonai hatov shincha ulecha na'eh lehodot. And we share in our prayer for peace, Shalom Rav, together as we read the English on page 164. Grant us peace, your most precious gift, O eternal source of peace, and give us the will to proclaim its message to all the peoples of the earth. Bless our country as a safeguard of peace, its advocate among the nations. Make contentment reign within our borders, health and happiness within our homes. Strengthen the bonds of friendship and fellowship among all the inhabitants of our world. Plant virtue in every soul, and may the love of your name hallow every home and every heart. Praise are you, Adonai, who blesses your people with peace. Baruch atah Adonai hamivarech et amo Yisrael. Bashalom. With prayers for peace in our worlds, on our lips and in our hearts, we now combine those with prayers of peace and healing for those who face the future not fully whole. In addition to those who are listed here on our healing list, we add the names of those who are in our hearts, and we extend those prayers for healing to all those, not only in our city and our country, but around the world who are suffering from COVID-19, those who are ill and their families who worry about them, and all of us whose anxiety and concern about the uncertain future that we face causes us to need healing and strength as well. As we pause for a moment to think about those we love, let us find strength from being together in prayer, knowing that our community is here to support us all.
Take a moment for your own silent prayer. Shalom, shalom. shalom aleinu ve'akol Yisrael ve'imru amen. Oseh shalom shalom bimromav uyaseh shalom aleinu ve'akol Yisrael ve'imru amen. Oseh shalom shalom bimromav uyaseh shalom aleinu ve'akol Yisrael ve'akol yoshvei tevel ve'imru amen amen. Oseh shalom shalom bimromav uyaseh shalom aleinu ve'akol Yisrael ve'imru amen.
When I was growing up, when it came to TV, summertime meant reruns. There was no live streaming, only the networks. And during July and August, CBS, ABC, and NBC only showed old episodes and old movies from their catalogs. Parshat Ve'etchanan is sort of like those reruns. There isn't a lot new here, but it is a compilation of Torah's greatest hits in both law and narrative. In less than 4 chapters, we get a review of all the core teachings and major themes of Judaism. As part 2 of Moses' great and final oration to the Israelites, we are reminded of the liberation from Egyptian slavery. The Shema V'ahavta is introduced, declaring the uniqueness of God. We are given a recap of the 10 Commandments, which at their core affirm a moral and sacred order to human existence. And we are urged to follow all of the mitzvot, Jewish laws, as a way to fulfill our covenant with God and serve God in holiness and justice. Follow the halakha, promises Moses, and you will be guaranteed a peaceful, secure, and successful life in the Holy Land. Because it's all pretty straightforward Deuteronomic stuff, follow the commandments, your life will be blessed. Ignore the commandments, your life will be cursed. You might miss an essentially important verse tucked into chapter 6, verse 18 to be exact. It comes directly after a stern admonition against idol worship, and at first glance might seem extraneous. V'asita hayashar v'hatov be'enei Adonai. Do what is right and good in the sight of the Lord. Rabbi Bradley Shavit Artson explains why this commandment is actually a blockbuster new release. At the very heart of Moses' speech is the belief that doing God's will requires of us to obey all the mitzvot. This is the short path towards establishing a society of justice, of infusing every aspect of life with spirituality, and allowing the fullest possible personal development and growth. Yet after urging his followers to follow all the mitzvot, he adds, do what is right and good in the sight of the Lord. Here is the tension, even the contradiction. If God's will is expressed in halakha, then why add do right and good? And if we need to be told to do what is right and good, why bother with halakha, which is supposed to be the thing that explains to us how to be right and good in the first place? The traditional rabbinic commentaries sense the contradiction too, but they seize it and use it as an essential tool for keeping Jewish life and law flexible and relevant. The famous 11th century French Torah commentator Rashi suggests that the verse implies a compromise going beyond the letter of the law. What he means is that there may be times when a strict interpretation of the Torah law might result in harm rather than right or good, and that to truly fulfill God's commandments, we just might from time to time have to adjust or adapt the laws. This idea of doing right and good, even if it means rewriting our present reality, comes to mind when I think about John Lewis, the great social justice hero who died on July 17th. The son of an Alabama sharecropper, Lewis, who was at the forefront of the struggle for civil rights in the 1960s, served 17 terms in Congress representing his district in Georgia. Generally regarded as a kind and gentle man who spent his life fighting to make positive change, he received the highest posthumous honors this past week, including lying in state at the US Capitol. Shortly before he died, he wrote an essay that he wanted published by the New York Times on the day of his funeral, urging us to answer the highest calling of our hearts and to stand up for what we truly believe. Like so many young people today, he wrote, I was searching for a way out, or some might say a way in. And then I heard the voice of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. on an old radio. He was talking about the philosophy and discipline of nonviolence. He said, we all are complicit when we tolerate injustice. He said, it's not enough to say it will get better by and by. He said, each of us has a moral obligation to stand up, and speak out. When you see something that is not right, you must say something. You must do something. Democracy is not a state, it is an act, and each generation must do its part to help build what we called the beloved community, a nation and a world society at peace with itself. We all know there is so much chaos in our world right now, certainly more than many of us have experienced in our lifetimes. There's a lot of injustice and inequality that is being called out right now in our own country, and more that is being sidelined. Racial injustice, gender inequality, inequitable access to healthcare and social services. Don't forget about the opioid crisis, not to mention environmental concerns, and oh yes, an international pandemic being mismanaged to a greater or lesser extent everywhere around the world. There's an upsurge in anti-democratic tendencies in Eastern and Central Europe, and strong political divides here in the United States. And the urge to stick to our bubbles, to only focus on our own personal or local concerns is fierce. But we must go back to Moses' teaching, to do what is right and good in the sight of the Lord. There were many societal norms back then that we no longer recognize as valid or just. Slavery, women's lack of legal personhood, a ban on homosexuality, rules of war. I could go on. Many things that made sense then do not make sense now. And the Torah, not to mention the most esteemed authorities of our tradition, understood that just as cultural norms change with time, and what is considered right and good will also change if we are here, and what is considered right and good will also change if we are to sustain a vibrant, peaceful, and successful reality for us all. Watching reruns now, or at least old movies and old TV shows, isn't like it used to be. Back then, it was out of sheer desperation. There was nothing else on. Now, with so many streaming services, we might look to past favorites out of a sense of nostalgia. Some classics really stand the test of time, but most do not. What I found when I watch movies and shows from the 70s and 80s is that most of the cultural norms feel off. Jokes or situations that were humorous then seem in bad taste now. At best, they are awkward. At worst, they are offensive or damaging. It's a potent reminder that what was right and good then, even 20 or 30 years ago, doesn't necessarily have to be right and good now. John Lewis understood this. He spent his life trying to make right and good reality for all. The command to do what is right and good requires us to live our lives according to a Jewish ethical tradition, a tradition which is both compassionate and just, and also ever evolving. Parshat Ve'etchanan is a powerful parsha because it reminds us of our responsibility to stand up and speak out for our values, protecting the vulnerable in our midst, and speaking out for what we know to be not just right and good, but also true and just. Amen. We will continue our service now with Aleinu on page 283.
עלינו לשבח לאדון הכל, לתת גדולה ליוצר בראשית, שהוא שם חלקנו לייחד את שמו, וגורלנו להמליך מלכותו. ואנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים, הקדוש ברוך הוא. ונאמר והיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד ושמו אחד.
As we turn to our memorial meditation on page 289, we note with sadness the death of Estelle Prissy Lieberman Kaufman, mother of Bill Kaufman, Carlene Kaufman and Gary Kusin, Ann Kaufman and David Engel, grandmother of Ben and Marina Kusin, Eric and Irene Kusin, Philip and Courtney Engel, Brad and Jen Kaufman, Carlene and Jared Katzman, Elizabeth and David Vivero, Morgan Kaufman, Caroline and Tavita Pritchard, great-grandmother of Kaya and Mila Kusin, Stella and Preston Kusin, Sydney and Milo Vivero, Afi and Manu Pritchard, Jack and Beatrice Engel, Max Spencer and Caleb Katzman, sister-in-law of Tom Kaufman, aunt of Warren Kaufman and Brian Allen, Barbara and Jack and Jay Lack, Susan and Bill Martin, and Jack and Peggy Jessel. There will be an online memorial service on Wednesday, August 5th at 12 noon. Those wishing to participate may do so by streaming services from our Temple Beth-El website. I share with you meditation number 2 from the Union Prayer Book on page 289. In nature's ebb and flow, God's eternal law abides. When tears dim our vision or grief clouds our understanding, we often lose sight of God's eternal plan. Yet we know that growth and decay, life and death, all reveal a divine purpose. God, who is our support in the struggles of life, is also our hope in death. We have set God before us and shall not despair. In God's hands are the souls of all the living and the spirits of all flesh. Under God's protection we abide, and by God's love are we comforted. O life of our life, soul of our soul, cause your light to shine into our hearts and fill our spirits with abiding trust in you. On this Shabbat, we consecrate the yard sites observed in our congregation this week of Karen Almond, Lilie Alterman, Max Barnett, Claire Bergovi, Dr. Raymond Berlin, Sylvia Schwartz Bronstein, Ephraim Chernisky, Ann Coben, Israel Cohen, Cyril Dalkowitz, Beverly Jackie Eisenberg, Dr. Bernard Fine, Herbert Fidier, Joel Friedman, David Garrison, Owen Simon Gerson, Bella Glassberg, Walter Green, Saul Gross, Herbert M. Harris, Bruce Hinsley, William Hyman, Rosetta Josephson, Jonathan Caden, Ruth Dubinsky Callison, Theodore Kaplan, Leonard Carpel, Celia Marie Kaufman, Dr. Joseph Lehman, Dr. William Leon, Julia Lerner, Jacob Levine, Renee Levy, Victoria Levy, Judge William W. Lipset, Michael Reese Loeffler, Robert Lane Loeffler, Babe Matisoff, Eleanor Mazur, Howard Miller, Martin Pollock, R. Bernard Pomerantz, Bill Rips, Julius Rose, Matthew Rosen, Shirley Rutblut, Grace Roth, Ruth Roth, Roy Solomon Shapira, Harold Sharlock, Meyer Sharlock, Ed Schieber, Rhoda F. Silver, Colonel Merton Singer, Philip Skora, Max Weiss, Nelson Weiss, Scott Wenzel, Joanne Wagowski, and Roha Zainar. To their memories, we link the names of 6 who in the last 30 days, Shloshim, have been laid to their eternal rest: Eric Levy, Leo Rose, Lynn Penner, Luann Price, and Karen Jane Wagner and Tamara Senshin. We also recognize that Chrissy was laid to rest in a private burial this morning, and her family is observing the period of Shiva, though, like I said, we will share in a public memorial on Wednesday. Zichronam livracha, may their memories be for blessing, along with the memories of those who are in our hearts each and every day. I invite you to rise if you are able, as we join together on page 294, praising God for the gift of memory, the sacred gift of life. Yitkadal v'yitkadash shemei rabbah, ve'almad divrach v'rutei v'yamlich malchutei, v'chayachon v'yomechon uv'chayei t'chol beit Yisrael, v'agala uv'yizman kariv v'yamru amen. Yehei shmei rabbah mivarach le'olam omei omaya, yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitramam v'yitnaseh, v'yitadar v'yitaleh v'yitalal shmei t'kudashah b'rechu, le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata, tushbechata v'nechamata, ta'amiram be'alma v'yamru amen. Yehei shlam rabba min shemaya, v'chayim aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael, v'yamru amen. Oseh shalom b'mromav, hu ya'aseh shalom, aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael, v'yamru amen. May the one who creates harmony on high bring peace to us and to all Israel, to which we say, amen. You may be seated. I'd like to invite our temple president, Amy Benedict, to share some greetings before our closing song.
Okay, am I unmuted? Shabbat Shalom. I also wanted to talk about Congressman John Lewis. President George W. Bush at Congressman Lewis's funeral eulogized him and said some very meaningful things about the man. First of all, President Bush quoted the Hebrew Bible when he said, "The Lord is looking for a prophet. Whom shall I send, and whom will go for us?" Isaiah answered, "Here am I, send me." President Bush said John Lewis heard that call in segregated Alabama and answered it. He said that John Lewis looked outward rather than inward. He always thought of others. He believed that Congressman Lewis thought that hate and fear had to be answered with love and hope. He said Congressman Lewis could build a world of peace and justice, harmony and dignity and love. Hopefully you too will be inspired by the words of President George W. Bush, who spoke so eloquently about Congressman Lewis. Enjoy your week.
Thanks, Amy. Our closing song is Ein Kelohenu on page 330. Please join us.
Sorry, it's actually page 322.
Great.
My fault.
Norel
Shabbat Shalom, everyone. If you're here with us on Zoom, we invite you to turn on your camera again so we can all say Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat shalom. Shabbat
Shabbat
shalom.
shalom. Here,
Stay
Colonel.
safe.
Here.
Hello.
Can you say hello, Colonel?
Hi,
Oh,
Colonel.
don't be like that. Jeez.
The dog, you know the dog.
Colonel,
Shabbat shalom.
what can I say? He's
Shabbat
camera
shalom.
shy.
Thank you. Shabbat shalom.
Have a good weekend.
Everybody.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Shabbat shalom.
Stay healthy.
Thanks, you too.
Alev Yerushalem, Ve'giru Eleha, Ki Malach Seva'a, Ki Nitzavoda, Ki Lacha Miyad, Miyad Hashem, Ki Flaim V'chol Hatoteha. Dum dum dum, Nachamu, Nachamu. Yerushalem, Ve'giru Eleha, Ki Malach Seva'a, Ki Nitzavoda, Ki Lacha Miyad, Miyad Hashem, Ki Flaim Bechol Hatoteha. Dum dum dum, Nachamu, Nachamu. Nachamu, Nachamu, Ami, Nachamu, Nachamu, Yomar Elokechem, Kol Koreh, Bamidbar, Panu Derech Lashem, Yashru, Barava, Mesilah. Nachamu, Nachamu.